This is one of the recent local books from New Orleanian author Ken Foster. It's called I'm a Good Dog, an American History on the Misunderstood Pit Bull Dogs. Foster also has a local foundation dedicated to educating people on pit bulls, and he joins us now to highlight what he says are a lot of misconceptions about pit bulls. Thank you so much. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
You have one of your pit bulls here, Bananas Foster. How appropriate
Right.
for a New Orleanian dog.
And Bananas was part of a litter that I met at a gas station where someone was trying to sell them a few years ago. And I took her and 4 of her litter mates, which they gave me for free, and they just wanted to find good homes for them. So they're all living, one with a Saints player, one with a uptown woman, one with a med student. They're all in good places.
Let's talk about, I mean, it's tragic, and we know that in the death of the 4-year-old killed in the pit bull attack, a tragedy when you hear something like that. The dog, Nico, they did some tests. The dog needed to be alive for them to determine if the dog had steroids, so they couldn't determine that based on that situation. Had no rabies, but when you see and hear of such tragedies like this, and you're someone who, you know, advocates for pit bulls, and they're great dogs, yours, you know, what comes to mind when you hear of something like that?
Well, I think the first thing, obviously, that comes to mind is it's a horrific situation and a horrible tragedy. But regarding the dog and its perceived breed, I mean, that dog was, if you took this dog and made her 3 times bigger, that dog was still bigger than that. And from what I understand, it came from a line that really includes more Mastiff than Pit Bull. But the real thing is that breed is not what we should be looking at all. What we should be looking at are the individual circumstances of these incredibly rare, actually, occurrences. You know, over the past couple of decades, incidents like this that are fatal with dogs have remained stable. There's not been an increase in them. There's been an increase, of course, in the dog population, and yet that also hasn't changed the number of rare cases where something awful like this happens.
And you say recently after this, you were walking your dog, and you had, you know, for the first time in quite some time, people just saying negative things about your pit bull that you were walking.
Yeah, and I was walking a really well-behaved pit bull on a leash
In the French Quarter.
In the French Quarter, where I've walked dogs before, and people were shouting at us, you know, because they thought, you know, it was the same dog, and obviously, you know, it truly wasn't the same dog. But also, the exterior of a dog isn't really a marker for their behavior or the circumstances that they find themselves in.
You said you wanted to say an interesting analogy with humans. You wanted to say that, but you didn't, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, somebody that was particularly rude in shouting something to me, I wanted sort of to point out that, you know, I could easily say that there are, you know, hundreds of serial killers that look just like this man, but I would never actually say something like that. But it's a similar sort of error in thinking,
right,
that if somebody looks a certain way or that a dog looks a certain way, we can tell anything about them at all. And what we can tell from an individual is what their individual behavior may be.
So for responsible dog owners, what are the rules you would give to responsible dog owners? Are they the same for pit bulls as any other dog?
Yeah, I mean, I think people love their dogs, and I think unfortunately not everybody understands what to do to be a responsible dog owner. It's one of the things my foundation tries to do throughout the city, is educate people on their responsibility as a dog owner so that they have a happier relationship with their dog. But you really need, you know, to keep your dog trained, to keep your dog on a leash in public, to understand where your dog's comfort level is. My understanding in the case in Homa is that these dogs were staying in an unfamiliar location because the owner was actually away. And one of the dogs was in heat. Things that trigger, or that sometimes can be triggers in cases like this, are the status of the dog as far as reproduction, what the dog is kept for,
if the
whether
dog's
it's
being
a
used
yard
for
dog,
fighting or whatever.
right, or even just used as a yard dog, or a dog that isn't really included in a family environment.
Well, my last question to you, where can people learn more about you and pit bulls and how to have them as pets, you know, really good dog pets?
Well, I do want to say too, like, the entire dog population in the United States is about 70 million, and probably 7 million of them or more are pit bulls. So all the pit bulls we don't hear about, the millions of them that we don't hear about in the news, are pets that people love. They work as therapy dogs. They go to visit schools and hospitals, just like other dog breeds. And so there are a lot of great resources now with pit bulls online, including Bad Rap is a great organization based in Oakland. My foundation is sulafoundation.org.
How do they find it again? Your foundation?
Sulafoundation.org, and it's named after my first pit bull, whose name was Sula.
Well, Bananas Foster and Ken Foster, thank you so much for coming in and shedding some light on that. They are not all bad dogs, and each individual situation warrants different eyes to look to see what caused it. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bananas.